Hi, everybody. Elise here with our first episode of What's Left Up North, the YouTube channel where I talk about our work in the Communist Party of the Chequamegon Bay, relevant political theory, and labor movement history. We're launching ahead of schedule today because we want to do whatever we can to make the next 4 months as painless as possible, and that's going to be quite a tall order. So, in the first 2 weeks of November, Ashland recorded over 200 new cases of COVID-19, and we're still diagnosing 10 or more people every day. That's really serious. In a city of 8,000 people, 10 known cases per day, probably some more unknown ones, is huge. That's 10 people facing death or disability, loss of job, income, housing each and every day. At this rate, 10% of our population will have had the virus by New Year's, with far more people suffering from the economic effects of a prolonged pandemic. It's pretty scary right now, and the crisis is compounding on itself. The loss of tax revenue has been staggering. We're looking for the city budget at a loss of 16% of revenue compared to last year's budget, and that gap is getting wider every day. That means that essential services like schools and conservation efforts and public services like ambulances and such are all in danger of being cut next year. Now, under Wisconsin law, municipalities can't raise taxes past a certain point, so the city is going to have to either find new sources of revenue or cut vital parts of our city services. Councillor Whitebird will, of course, do everything he can to preserve the public services that we actually use, like schools, ambulances, parks, and so on, as will Emerson and I if either of us are elected in the spring, but we're in a really tight corner. And the worst part is that the worst of this could have been avoided. I think at this point most of us understand that the sooner we get transmission under control, the sooner our economy can begin recovering. The elephant in the room is the wanton behavior of these far-right scofflaws. Through a combination of pride and malice, they're seeking to flout public health regulations out of sheer spite, and this poses a really grave danger to the community. But, of course, that's not new. That's been going on all year. What is new is the increasing lengths that local businesses are going to in order to appease these scofflaws. Many stores have given up on enforcing the state and local mask ordinances on their customers, and some have even reprimanded or terminated employees for asking customers to abide by safety guidelines. Others have fired their management for daring to get a COVID test. Still others have their employees wear masks, but have management go unmasked, which is putting employees as well as the public at risk. Before the county stopped publishing transmission data, it seemed that a handful of establishments were responsible for most local transmissions, which really makes a lot of sense when we think about the way a handful of places have been behaving. Now, these businesses have decided for all of us that the crisis is over, and that the rest of us had better get used to high-risk shopping trips. Otherwise, they'd be forced to lose the patronage of the rabidly pro-virus crowd, or even face a lawsuit from them on religious freedom grounds. It hardly bears repeating that this cowardly choice is spreading the virus, ruining lives, dismantling our economy, and killing people. Repeated calls to the health department have yielded only replies of, "We know, but we don't have the staff to investigate." Often, ironically, because our health inspectors are sick with COVID-19 themselves. So, today, I and my comrades in the Communist Party of the Chequamegon Bay region are calling for a responsible plan to move Ashland through the next few months. We have to hold the few who are endangering the many accountable. Ah, but these poor businesses, we can hardly expect them to make such a hard decision. Imagine choosing between public safety and short-term profit. It must be like choosing between one's children. No, we cannot fault these few rogue businesses for endangering the rest of us. No, 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 no. But what we must do is help them make the correct choice. When they were faced with similar recalcitrance from a small number of businesses, Milwaukee recently increased their fine for virus scofflaws and the businesses that enable them by a factor of 10. The Communist Party proposes that the city of Ashland follow suit and rigorously enforce our health regulations. To this end, we want the city to hire temporary personnel, either civilian auxiliaries for the police department or assistants in the health department funded out of the police budget to help focus on health code enforcement. This is going to be a win on multiple levels. First of all, it's going to create a number of good paying jobs for the slow winter months. Second, since most businesses are being responsible, very few people who can't afford the fine will be affected. And then getting to the actual effects of such a regime, well, either the businesses in the thrall of the public health scofflaws are awakened to the wisdom of following the rules, keeping their customers and employees healthy, and our local outbreak will be better contained with fewer people getting sick. On the other hand, if these few businesses insist on continuing to endanger us out of their obstinacy and desire to appease a few far right extremists, then, well, at least they'll be contributing meaningfully to offsetting the shortfall in our local budget. And either way, a few more people will have jobs for the winter. So, this seems to be a straightforward method, a straightforward plan for anyone who insists on a belief in the vaunted American free market. We're helping these area businesses navigate exciting new development choices, which that's got to be good, right? Now, getting serious again, any time you have revenue generated through fines, it does levy the potential for abuse, which is why we want this fine and regime of enforcement to be pegged to only operate for the duration of the public health emergency, as defined by the county health department or the governor. So the city should not have any authority to extend this unilaterally. Then, of course, there's the final question that people might ask, which is, well, what will we do if the businesses that are actually being forced to comply with the health regulations decide to close out of spite, which they often threaten to do? So let's bear in mind, the problem is mostly coming from a small handful of businesses who make up a comparatively small segment of our local economy. I think we'd be all right without them, but we can do better. Why not have the city begin operating those businesses? Retain those employees who are willing and able to serve the community responsibly. Baldwin, Florida actually did this when their grocery store decided to close, and our city already knows how to run a profitable business. We have the marina as a publicly owned corporation, and it works very, very well. And it generates net revenue for the city every year while providing an essential service to anybody who enjoys the lake. So, how do we get from here to there? We want pressure on our local elected officials. Mass rallies and demonstrations will be difficult to do safely, so the priority will be calls and attendance at virtual city council meetings. There's going to be one next Tuesday, the 8th at 5:30. The link is in our description, so we very much encourage you to attend that on Tuesday, and go to meetings link in the description. Again, it'll be at 5:30. We are going to be there to demand enforcement of the health regulations. Please call your city councilor. Come to the meeting. The city council directory page is also in our description. You'll be able to contact any of the 11 city councilmen that way. So, talk to your friends. Make sure they know that appeasement of the far right here is costing us our future. Swamp the county health department with reports every time the supermarket allows a scofflaw to shop. Every time your boss looms over you without a mask on, report them. You can do it anonymously. The number is 715-682-7004. That's 715-682-7004. We want a democratic economy and a safer future for Ashland. Thank you very much for your time. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this, we have a link to our Patreon down below. We've got two projects coming up, one focusing on electoral reform and the dangers of gerrymandering, and the other about the music of Holocaust survivors Ernst Busch and Lynn Yaldati. And we look forward to talking with you a great deal more. In the meantime, we wish you a safe holiday season and hope to see you at the virtual meeting on Tuesday.